In the quiet suburban town of Maplewood, the year was 1978. Life moved at a slower pace, and the community was tight-knit, everyone knowing each other's business, or so they thought. Detective Jane Harper, a seasoned investigator with the Maplewood Police Department, was known for her keen intuition and relentless pursuit of the truth. Little did she know that her next case would be one that would shake the very foundation of this peaceful town. Emily Parker, a beloved schoolteacher in her early 30s, had recently separated from her husband, Mark Parker. Emily was known for her kindness and dedication to her students, making her untimely death all the more shocking. It all began one chilly autumn morning when Emily's best friend, Lisa Thompson, reported her missing. Lisa had grown increasingly worried when Emily failed to show up for work and didn't answer her phone. She had gone to Emily's house, only to find the door ajar and a chilling silence within. Lisa immediately called the police, and Detective Harper was dispatched to the scene. When Detective Harper arrived at Emily's home, she was greeted by a scene of unsettling tranquility. The house was neat, with everything in its place, but there was an eerie stillness in the air. Harper's trained eyes quickly picked up on the subtle signs of a struggle. A vase had been knocked over, and there were faint scuff marks on the floor. As Harper moved through the house, her heart sank when she found Emily's lifeless body in the bedroom. Emily lay sprawled on the floor, her once bright eyes now vacant. It was clear that she had met a violent end. Harper called in her team to secure the scene and began the meticulous process of gathering evidence. The initial examination revealed that Emily had been struck on the head with a blunt object, but there were no obvious signs of a break-in. Whoever had done this had either been let in willingly or had a key. The investigation was officially underway, and Harper knew that time was of the essence. She started by interviewing Lisa, who was still in shock. "Lisa," Harper began gently, "I know this is difficult, but I need you to tell me everything you know. When was the last time you saw Emily?" Lisa wiped away tears and took a deep breath. "It was last night. We had dinner together at her place." She seemed a bit on edge, but she didn't say anything specific. "I left around 9 p.m. That was the last time I saw her." Harper noted the time. "Did she mention anyone she was worried about or any threats she might have received?" Lisa shook her head. "No, nothing like that. But she did seem worried about something. I thought it was just the stress from the separation." Harper thanked Lisa and moved on to the next steps in her investigation. She knew she had to speak to Mark Parker, Emily's estranged husband. Their separation had been tumultuous, with frequent arguments and accusations. Mark had moved out 2 months ago and was living in a small apartment on the other side of town. As Harper drove to Mark's apartment, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this case than met the eye. The pieces of the puzzle were just beginning to emerge, and it was up to her to fit them together. The town of Maplewood was about to be thrust into a web of secrets and lies, where every clue uncovered would lead to more questions, and the truth would prove to be more elusive than anyone could have imagined. Detective Harper was ready to dive deep into the mystery, but little did she know, the path to justice would be fraught with danger and deception. As Detective Harper arrived at Mark Parker's apartment, she couldn't help but notice the stark contrast between his current living situation and the comfortable home he had once shared with Emily. The apartment complex was run down, with peeling paint and dimly lit hallways. Mark answered the door looking disheveled and tired. "Detective Harper," he greeted her, his voice strained. "I heard about Emily. I can't believe she's gone." Harper studied his face, looking for any signs of deceit. "I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Parker. I need to ask you some questions about your whereabouts last night." Mark nodded, running a hand through his unkempt hair. "I understand. I was home all night. I didn't leave the apartment. Can anyone verify that?" Harper asked, her pen poised over her notebook. Mark hesitated. No, I live alone now. But I swear, I had nothing to do with this. Emily and I had our differences, but I would never hurt her. Harper noted his response, but didn't let her guard down. What were those differences about? Mark sighed, sitting down on the worn-out couch. We argued about everything towards the end. Money, trust, her career. She was convinced I was having an affair, but it wasn't true. Things just fell apart. Harper continued her questioning, trying to gauge whether Mark's grief was genuine or if he was hiding something. But without more evidence, she couldn't rule him out or definitively link him to the crime. After leaving Mark's apartment, Harper returned to the station to review the initial findings from the crime scene. The forensic team had been thorough, collecting fingerprints, fibers, and other potential evidence. One item, in particular, caught Harper's attention: a delicate gold bracelet found near Emily's body. It was an unusual piece, and it seemed out of place among Emily's more modest belongings. As Harper pondered the significance of the bracelet, her next stop was the local medical examiner's office. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the town's experienced medical examiner, had completed the preliminary autopsy report. Jane, Dr. Mitchell greeted Harper with a somber nod. Emily Parker died from blunt force trauma to the head. The weapon was likely a heavy object, something like a candlestick or a trophy. Harper looked over the report, noting the details. Anything else? Dr. Mitchell hesitated. There were defensive wounds on her arms. She fought back, and we found traces of an unknown substance under her fingernails. It might help us identify the killer. Harper nodded, absorbing the information. Thank you, Sarah. This will be crucial for the investigation. As she left the medical examiner's office, Harper couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping away. She needed to piece together the puzzle quickly before the trail went cold. Harper's investigation led her to revisit Emily's home, hoping to uncover anything she might have missed. She carefully combed through Emily's personal belongings, looking for anything that could shed light on the situation. In a drawer beside Emily's bed, Harper found a small, locked journal. She pried it open and began to read. The entries were filled with Emily's fears and suspicions. She wrote about feeling watched, her strained relationship with Mark, and an increasing sense of dread. One entry stood out. I can't shake the feeling that someone close to me is hiding something. I don't know who to trust anymore. I found this bracelet in my car, but I have no idea how it got there. I'm scared. Harper felt a chill run down her spine. The bracelet was clearly significant, and Emily's fear was palpable through her words. This was no random act of violence, it was personal. Back at the station, Harper reviewed all the evidence once more. Mark's volatile temper, Lisa's strange hesitations, and Dr. Williams' calm, yet possibly deceptive demeanor all pointed to potential motives and opportunities. But she needed more than suspicion. She needed solid proof. As Harper prepared for the next steps in her investigation, she couldn't help but feel that the answers were within reach, hidden just beneath the surface. She was determined to bring Emily's killer to justice, no matter how deep the secrets ran. Detective Harper knew that the investigation was at a critical juncture. The clues were starting to form a picture, but it was still incomplete. She needed a breakthrough, something that would tie all the pieces together. Determined, she called a team meeting to brainstorm and review the evidence. Let's go over everything we have, Harper began, addressing her team. Mark Parker has no alibi, and we know his relationship with Emily was strained. Lisa Thompson was the last person to see Emily alive, but her story checks out, although she seems to be hiding something. Dr. Henry Williams had regular contact with Emily, and she felt uneasy about him. And then there's the bracelet and the unknown substance under her nails. One of her colleagues, Officer Green, spoke up. We received the lab results on that substance. It's a rare type of sedative, not something you'd find easily. It narrows down our suspects to someone with access to such a drug. Harper's mind raced. Like a doctor, she said, thinking of Dr. Williams. We need to find out if Dr. Williams had any sedatives missing from his supply. The team agreed, and Harper decided to pay another visit to Dr. Williams' clinic. This time, she arrived unannounced, catching him off guard. Dr. Williams, I need to ask you some more questions, Harper said, her tone firm. Williams looked surprised but nodded. Of course, Detective. What is it? We found traces of a rare sedative under Emily's nails. Do you keep such drugs in your clinic? Harper asked directly. Williams frowned, a look of concern crossing his face. We do, but it's strictly controlled. I can check our inventory for any discrepancies. As he went to check, Harper's eyes scanned his office. Her gaze landed on a family photo on his desk. His wife, Catherine Williams, was wearing a gold bracelet identical to the one found at the crime scene. Harper's heart pounded as she pointed to the photo. Dr. Williams, does your wife often wear that bracelet? Williams looked confused. Yes, it's a family heirloom. Why do you ask? Harper's instincts kicked in. Where is your wife now? She's at home, he replied, growing more uneasy. Harper thanked him and left the clinic. She immediately called for a warrant to search Dr. Williams' home. If the bracelet was indeed Catherine's and it had been at the crime scene, it could be the link she needed. With the warrant in hand, Harper and her team arrived at the Williams residence. Catherine was cooperative but clearly nervous as they searched the house. Harper's team meticulously combed through every room, looking for anything that could connect Catherine to the crime. In the basement, Harper found a hidden drawer in a cabinet. Inside was a small vial of the same sedative found under Emily's nails. Harper's pulse quickened. This was the evidence she needed. Mrs. Williams, we found this sedative in your home, Harper said, confronting her. How do you explain this? Catherine's face went pale. I don't know how that got there. It must be a mistake. But Harper could see the fear in her eyes. She pressed further. Your bracelet was found at the crime scene. Emily wrote in her diary that she found it in her car and didn't know how it got there. Tell me the truth, Mrs. Williams. Catherine broke down, tears streaming down her face. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Emily was having an affair with my husband. I found out and confronted her. I just wanted to scare her, to make her stay away from him. But things got out of hand. Harper listened, her heart heavy with the weight of the confession. Catherine explained how she had drugged Emily to frighten her, but it had gone horribly wrong, leading to Emily's death. With Catherine Williams' confession, Harper had the missing piece of the puzzle. Emily's murder was a tragic accident born out of jealousy and fear. Catherine had planned to use the sedative to make Emily compliant and scare her into leaving Henry alone, but when Emily fought back, Catherine panicked and struck her with a heavy candlestick, resulting in her death. Harper arrested Catherine, who was charged with manslaughter. The truth was finally out, but it left a trail of broken lives in its wake. Emily's death had revealed the fragile and dark undercurrents running through the seemingly perfect town of Maplewood. The case was closed, but it left Harper with a profound sense of melancholy. She reflected on the case, realizing how easily trust and relationships could be shattered, leading to devastating consequences. As Detective Harper sat in her office, writing her final report, she thought about Emily Parker, a young woman whose life was cut short by a chain of tragic decisions. Harper hoped that bringing the truth to light would offer some solace to those left behind, even if it could never fully mend their broken hearts. The case of Emily Parker's murder was over, but its echoes would linger in the hearts and minds of those who knew her. Detective Jane Harper had brought justice to Emily, but she knew that the lessons learned from this case would stay with her forever. And so, The town of Maplewood slowly began to heal, but the memories of that fateful autumn would never be forgotten. For Detective Harper, it was another reminder of the delicate balance between good and evil, and the relentless pursuit of truth in a world where nothing is ever quite as it seems. With Catherine Williams' confession in hand, Detective Harper felt a mixture of relief and sorrow. The case was solved, but the resolution brought little comfort to those affected. Harper knew she had to deliver the news to Emily's family and to those closest to her. The Parker family was devastated, but they were grateful for Harper's dedication and perseverance in finding the truth. Emily's parents, tearful but appreciative, thanked Harper for her efforts. "You brought us closure," Emily's mother said softly, holding Harper's hand. "We can finally begin to heal, knowing what happened." Harper nodded, feeling the weight of their grief. "Emily deserved justice," she replied. "I'm sorry for your loss." Next, Harper visited Mark Parker. Despite their troubled marriage, Mark was visibly shaken by the revelation. He had truly cared for Emily, despite their differences. "I never wanted this," Mark said, his voice cracking. "I thought we had time to work things out." Harper offered him a reassuring look. "Sometimes life doesn't give us that chance. But you can honor her memory by remembering the good times and moving forward." Mark nodded, his eyes filled with regret. "Thank you, Detective, for everything." As Harper left, she hoped Mark would find a way to move on and find peace. The legal proceedings were swift. Catherine Williams, now facing charges of manslaughter, accepted a plea deal, sparing her a lengthy trial. The town of Maplewood was stunned by the revelations, and the once respected Williams family faced public scrutiny and shame. Henry Williams, devastated by the betrayal and the loss of his wife's trust, resigned from his practice and moved away, hoping to start anew somewhere far from the painful memories. As the dust settled, Maplewood slowly began to return to its usual rhythm. The town mourned the loss of Emily Parker, but they also learned the importance of community and vigilance. Detective Harper continued her work, each case a reminder of the delicate balance between justice and compassion. She knew that the scars from Emily's case would remain, but they also fueled her determination to seek the truth, no matter how painful it might be. This has been another story from Thriller Nights. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember to subscribe for more thrilling nighttime stories, and may you always find peace and safety in the nights to come.